So let's talk about William Blake. He is one of those figures who's just so hard to pin down. You know, was he a poet, a painter, or was he something else entirely, maybe a kind of mystic mapping out the hidden landscapes of the human soul? The thing is, to really get Blake, you have to look at all three at once.
And this slide just perfectly lays out the puzzle. On the one hand, you have the Blake most of us meet in school, right? The writer of these beautiful, almost childlike poems from Songs of Innocence. But then you have this other guy, a cosmic visionary, painting these terrifying, epic battles between gigantic, otherworldly beings. How on earth can these two artists be the same person?
To figure that out, we have to look at both sides of him. The man who wrote these simple, gorgeous songs, and the seer who said he talked with angels and spirits. Because for Blake, they were never separate. What's just wild is how early this all started. I mean, these weren't some midlife crisis visions. This was baked into who he was from day one. At 4 years old, he says he saw God looking in his window. At 8, he sees a tree just buzzing with angels. And this visionary side of him wasn't separate from his art. It was totally tangled up with it. As a teenager, learning the super detailed craft of engraving, he's surrounded by these ancient Gothic tombs, and his imagination is just soaking it all in.
So when he finally publishes his first book of poetry, it's like a shockwave. For over 100 years, English poetry had gotten really stiff and formal, kind of artificial, you know? And then this young engraver nobody's ever heard of comes along, and it's like a breath of fresh air. People called it miraculous, a sign that things were about to change.
But to really get just how revolutionary he was, we have to understand the world he was pushing back against. You gotta remember, the 18th century was the age of reason. The whole culture was obsessed with logic, order, and what you could prove with science. In the art world, the goal was simple: copy the material world. What you could see and touch, that was reality. That was it.
And Blake's response to all that? A hard pass. This quote is so key to understanding him. He's saying that the physical world, the thing everyone else was trying so hard to paint, was to him just a distraction, a hindrance. The real action, the stuff that truly mattered, was all happening in the world of the spirit and the imagination.
So if you've got a vision that's this different, you can't just use the old ways of making books. You have to invent your own way, a way to smash your words and your pictures together into one single thing. And he called it illuminated printing. This was a total game changer. It was a new technique that let him put his poems and his illustrations on the exact same metal plate. And that meant he had complete control. He wasn't just the writer or the artist, he was the designer, the printer, the publisher, the whole shebang. The process itself was pure genius. He'd draw and write his poems backwards onto a copper plate, using a kind of acid-proof gunk. Then he'd dunk the whole thing in acid. The acid would eat away all the bare metal, leaving his words and pictures raised up. From there, he and his wife, Catherine, could print the pages, and then they'd hand-color every single one. Each book was literally a unique work of art. And, in classic Blake fashion, he said the entire method came to him in a vision from his dead brother's spirit. And that's the key thing to get here. This wasn't just about how he made the books, it was about what he was making. The art wasn't just sitting next to the words, it was tangled up in them. The two became one, and he and Catherine did it all themselves, from start to finish. So with this brand new method, he starts creating his biggest, most difficult, and most ambitious works, his prophetical books. This is where Blake really goes off the map. He's not just writing pretty lyrics or illustrating the Bible anymore. He starts building his own universe from the ground up, with its own gods and demons, all representing the huge forces fighting it out inside the human soul. And the ideas in these books are just explosive. Take his Proverbs of Hell. They're like these little philosophical firecrackers designed to blow up everything you think you know. This one, for example, says that you don't find wisdom in playing it safe. You find it by pushing things to the absolute limit. Or how about this one? He's championing raw, passionate, almost violent energy, the tigers of wrath, over calm, disciplined, restrictive reason, the horses of instruction. For Blake, your powerful emotions and your imagination, that was the divine part of you. Cold, hard logic, that was a prison. And the ultimate villain in this whole cosmic drama is a character he named Urizen. Basically, Urizen is everything Blake hated. He's cold, calculating reason. He's the guy who makes up all the oppressive rules and laws. He is the eternal enemy of creativity, passion, and imagination. So, a guy creating work this weird and this revolutionary, you'd think he'd be a superstar in his own time, right? Well, not quite. The reality is, for most of his life, Blake was poor and almost completely unknown. These incredible, visionary books that he poured his entire being into, pretty much everyone just ignored them. He had to scrape by doing commercial engraving jobs, what he called hack work, just to pay the bills. Just to put it in perspective, for his now famous illustrations for a poem called The Grave, the publisher gave him a measly 20 guineas for the whole set. And today, yeah, an original copy of that book, those illustrations, they're worth millions. It's just one of the most stunning turnarounds in art history. The world just took a very, very long time to catch up to him. In the end, it all comes back to how he saw the world. This quote says it all, really. When you see the sunrise, you see a ball of fire. But Blake, he saw a choir of angels singing. He wasn't just looking at the world. He believed he was looking through it, to see the eternal reality humming away just beneath the surface. And that kind of leaves us with the big, lingering question, doesn't it? Was William Blake a genuine mystic, someone who was actually seeing into another dimension? Or was he an artist with an imagination so powerful that it was a world unto itself? And maybe, just maybe, there's not really a difference between the two.
This is for entertainment and educational purposes only.